So is this a case of cruise entitlement again? Entitled Cruiser episode? Well, I don't know how strict this one is. I think people are jumping on it a little bit, but it still smacks a little bit of entitled cruiser. So recently a guest reported that, they have trouble when they're sailing on Carnival cruise ships, which they sail a lot because they make a point of saying that they're Diamond members, which of course are the highest loyalty levels you can get with Carnival. And they say they take mostly the journeys, voyages, which are those longer journeys to longer destinations, those big journeys that Carnival does. Well, they have a hard time fitting their bags into their stateroom. And they travel, they said, with 3 hard-covered, large 26-inch suitcases, and they don't fit under the bed, and causes them a lot of pain and havoc to try and store it in their cabins. Not saying what kind of cabin they're in. Are they in a mini suite? Are they in an inside cabin? I guess that would make a big difference as well, right? What kind of cabin you're traveling in. But they said why, oh why, do they not offer storage for people's luggage for Diamond members? Well, again, that sounds like a little bit of sense of entitlement here, but they weren't too severe by saying you should offer it because we're Diamond. They just said, why don't you offer it as a perk? Well, one of the reasons is, as this passenger pointed out, they go on those voyages, right? Those big cruises, those journey cruises. But guess what? So does every other Diamond member out there. They tend to be on those voyages as well. So can you imagine if you had 30 to 40% of your ship all Diamond members? How many times have you heard the announcement that perks have to be cut back because they have too many loyalty guests at the high levels on cruise ships? Well, can you imagine trying to store all those people's luggage for everybody, and then they go, oh, by the way, can you please bring up our middle bag number 1? We still have a couple things in there and we would like to use it on the 19th day of our cruise. It would be a logistical nightmare for the cruise ships to handle. They do not want to store people's luggage. If anything goes missing, now they're responsible. Luggage goes missing now, and it just going to the stateroom, right? How many times does luggage go missing? Well, you absolutely do not want to be handling extra luggage when you don't have to. Not to mention the manpower, not to mention the storage space you have to take up, etc. And cruise ship space is very limited. When they're storing things, they would rather store extra things on board that they can offer to the passengers than things passengers are bringing on board for themselves. And it makes sense, right? It's just, it's just not feasible. It's just not feasible for the cruise lines, any cruise lines, to store people's luggage on the ship while you're sailing. And especially those filled with the high-end tier level passengers. And those longer cruises that people bring 2, 3, 4, 5 suitcases with them because they want to have a different dress every night. They're dressing up for theme nights. They're bringing a CPAC machine. They're bringing their computer. They're bringing all kinds of different shoes to wear on all these different occasions, especially on these longer journeys. So yeah. There's an even easier reason why they're not doing it. They don't want to spend the money to do it. And it makes perfectly sense to me. If you have a hard time storing your luggage on your cruise, maybe you're bringing too much luggage. One of the tips I always say to people is don't overpack. Because I bet you dollars to donuts, somebody who is bringing a ton of suitcases with them don't get to them. Don't get to half the stuff in their suitcase. It's just the way of the world. Well, yeah. Is this a case of another entitled cruiser? Maybe.